PKU, phenylketonuria. Just to remind you, do not worry about the details. It's this disease where normally there's this thing in your body which would be toxic to your brain unless it's turned into something else. And this is the enzyme, the protein, and thus coded for by a gene. This is the enzyme that turns the scary version into the safe version. And in PKU, you have a mutation in this enzyme. It's not doing its job. The scary version builds up and wipes out your nervous system. That looks bad. And what we've got now is a trait where you're going to say, well, let's see. I'm very interested in knowing, being able to predict whether or not this person has a fairly normal looking brain or whether it looks like Swiss cheese. Do I want to know whether or not they're growing up in Idaho versus Montana, or do I want to know whether or not they've got a mutation in this enzyme? Obviously, you want to know if there's a mutation in the enzyme. Seemingly, heritability is 100%. But now you do something which people have been doing for people with PKU for a couple of decades now, which is you put little labels on bottles of food and stuff saying if this food contains the scary bad news thing. And if you have PKU, if you simply don't eat food that contains that, if you have what's called a phenylalanine-free diet, so you don't get your brain looking like Swiss cheese. What have you got there? You've just put in an environmental influence that has reduced heritability down to 0. This is a case where we've got something like this looking. And here we're measuring is like the Swiss cheese index or whatever of the brain. And what we've got here is this is an environment where people know how much of this stuff there is in different types of food and don't eat it. A simple not so simple, but an environmental intervention, a behavioral change in the environment, and you've just reduced heritability from 100% to 0%. So that is a dramatic version.